Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. George Bernard Shaw. I often quote myself. It adds spice to my conversation. Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. George Bernard Shaw. We don't stop playing because we grow old, we grow old because we stop playing. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Beware of false knowledge, it is more dangerous than ignorance. There is no sincerer love than the love of food. You see things, and you say why? But I dream things that never were, and I say why not? I learned long ago, never to wrestle with a pig. You get dirty, and besides, the pig likes it. A government that robs Peter to pay Paul can always depend on the support of Paul. Imagination is the beginning of creation. You imagine what you desire, you will what you imagine, and at last you create what you will. George Bernard Shaw. You use a glass mirror to see your face, you use works of art to see your soul. A life spent making mistakes is not only more honorable, but more useful than a life spent doing nothing. Patriotism is your conviction that this country is superior to all others because you were born in it. Without art, the crudeness of reality would make the world unbearable. Democracy is a device that ensures we shall be governed no better than we deserve. Youth is wasted on the young. Better keep yourself clean and bright, you are the window through which you must see the world. A fool's brain digests philosophy into folly, science into superstition, and art into pedantry. Hence university education. We are made wise not by the recollection of our past, but by the responsibility for our future. The power of accurate observation is commonly called cynicism by those who have not got it. Liberty means responsibility. That is why most men dread it. If history repeats itself, and the unexpected always happens, how incapable must man be of learning from experience? George Bernard Shaw. Marriage is an alliance entered into by a man who can't sleep with the window shut, and a woman who can't sleep with the window open. Take care to get what you like, or you will be forced to like what you get. You cannot be a hero without being a coward. Silence is the most perfect expression of scorn. The best place to find God is in a garden. You can dig for him there. The moment we want to believe something, we suddenly see all the arguments for it, and become blind to the arguments against it. If all the economists were laid end to end, they'd never reach a conclusion. A happy family is but an earlier heaven. The people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, make them. George Bernard Shaw. Life does not cease to be funny when people die any more than it ceases to be serious when people laugh. George Bernard Shaw. If you cannot get rid of the family skeleton, you may as well make it dance. George Bernard Shaw. If you cannot get rid of the family skeleton, you may as well make it dance. Youth is a wonderful thing. What a crime to waste it on children. Kings are not born, they are made by artificial hallucination. There is only one religion, though there are 100 versions of it. No man ever believes that the Bible means what it says, he is always convinced that it says what he means. George Bernard Shaw. All great truths begin as blasphemies. The worst sin toward our fellow creatures is not to hate them, but to be indifferent to them. That's the essence of inhumanity. George Bernard Shaw. Democracy substitutes election by the incompetent many for appointment by the corrupt few. There is nothing more dangerous than the conscience of a bigot. The liar's punishment is not in the least that he is not believed, but that he cannot believe anyone else. The great advantage of a hotel is that it is a refuge from home life. Just do what must be done. This may not be happiness, but it is greatness. Hell is full of musical amateurs. A gentleman is one who puts more into the world than he takes out. Lack of money is the root of all evil. Alcohol is the anesthesia by which we endure the operation of life. George Bernard Shaw. The secret to success is to offend the greatest number of people. Science never solves a problem without creating 10 more. Love is a gross exaggeration of the difference between one person and everybody else. No question is so difficult to answer as that to which the answer is obvious. The golden rule is that there are no golden rules. You'll never have a quiet world till you knock the patriotism out of the human race. Clever and attractive women do not want to vote, they are willing to let men govern as long as they govern men. George Bernard Shaw. Do not do unto others as you expect they should do unto you. Their tastes may not be the same. I'm an atheist and I thank God for it. Power does not corrupt men. Fools, however, if they get into a position of power, corrupt power. There are two tragedies in life. One is to lose your heart's desire. The other is to gain it. We have no more right to consume happiness without producing it than to consume wealth without producing it. When I was young, I observed that 9 out of 10 things I did were failures. So I did 10 times more work. Everything happens to everybody sooner or later if there is time enough. An Englishman thinks he is moral when he is only uncomfortable. The minority is sometimes right, The majority always wrong. There are no secrets better kept than the secrets everybody guesses. England and America are two countries separated by the same language. Peace is not only better than war, but infinitely more arduous. I want to be all used up when I die. Success does not consist in never making mistakes but in never making the same one a second time. George Bernard Shaw. It is dangerous to be sincere unless you are also stupid. George Bernard Shaw. A perpetual holiday is a good working definition of hell. Old men are dangerous. It doesn't matter to them what is going to happen to the world. George Bernard Shaw. The only way to avoid being miserable is not to have enough leisure to wonder whether you are happy or not. When a man says money can do anything, that settles it. He hasn't got any. Which painting in the National Gallery would I save if there was a fire? The one nearest the door, of course. I enjoy convalescence. It is the part that makes the illness worthwhile. I never resist temptation because I have found that things that are bad for me do not tempt me. Every man over 40 is a scoundrel. If you injure your neighbor, better not do it by halves. Property is organized robbery. Choose silence of all virtues, for by it you hear other men's imperfections and conceal your own. George Bernard Shaw. I dislike feeling at home when I am abroad. He knows nothing and thinks he knows everything. That points clearly to a political career. The only service a friend can really render is to keep up your courage by holding up to you a mirror in which you can see a noble image of yourself. George Bernard Shaw. Beauty is all very well at first sight, but whoever looks at it when it has been in the house 3 days? Independence? That's middle-class blasphemy. We are all dependent on one another, every soul of us on earth. Hegel was right when he said that we learn from history that man can never learn anything from history. The man with a toothache thinks everyone happy whose teeth are sound. The poverty-stricken man makes the same mistake about the rich man. George Bernard Shaw. Life contains but two tragedies. One is not to get your heart's desire, the other is to get it. Better never than late. I have to live for others and not for myself. That's middle-class morality. The love of economy is the root of all virtue. Man can climb to the highest summits but he cannot dwell there long. The possibilities are numerous once we decide to act and not react. The fickleness of the women I love is only equaled by the infernal constancy of the women who love me. George Bernard Shaw. It is the mark of a truly intelligent person to be moved by statistics. We are all dependent on one another, every soul of us on earth. When a man wants to murder a tiger he calls it sport. When a tiger wants to murder him he calls it ferocity. George Bernard Shaw. He who can does. He who cannot teaches. Caesar was a man of great common sense and good taste, meaning thereby a man without originality or moral courage. I would like to take you seriously, but to do so would be an affront to your intelligence. Men are wise in proportion not to their experience but to their capacity for experience. When a stupid man is doing something he is ashamed of, he always declares that it is his duty. George Bernard Shaw. In heaven an angel is nobody in particular. George Bernard Shaw. While we ourselves are the living graves of murdered animals, how can we expect any ideal living conditions on this earth? George Bernard Shaw. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die, for the harder I work the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. No man who is occupied in doing a very difficult thing and doing it very well, ever loses his self-respect. Statistics show that of those who contract the habit of eating, very few survive. We should all be obliged to appear before a board every 5 years and justify our existence, on pain of liquidation. George Bernard Shaw. Human beings are the only animals of which I am thoroughly and cravenly afraid. Miracles, in the sense of phenomena we cannot explain, surround us on every hand. Life itself is the miracle of miracles. George Bernard Shaw. First love is only a little foolishness and a lot of curiosity. Few people think more than 2 or 3 times a year. I have made an international reputation for myself by thinking once or twice a week. George Bernard Shaw. Marriage is popular because it combines the maximum of temptation with the maximum of opportunity. Self-sacrifice enables us to sacrifice other people without blushing. The fact that a believer is happier than a skeptic is no more to the point than the fact that a drunken man is happier than a sober one. Every person who has mastered a profession is a skeptic concerning it. It is most unwise for people in love to marry. Beware of the man who does not return your blow. He neither forgives you nor allows you to forgive yourself. It is a curious sensation, the sort of pain that goes mercifully beyond our powers of feeling. When your heart is broken, your boats are burned, nothing matters anymore. It is the end of happiness and the beginning of peace. George Bernard Shaw. Do not try to live forever. You will not succeed. Animals are my friends. And I don't eat my friends. You can always tell an old soldier by the inside of his holsters and cartridge boxes. The young ones carry pistols and cartridges, the old ones grub. George Bernard Shaw. I am a Christian. That obliges me to be a communist. Assassination is the extreme form of censorship. A little learning is a dangerous thing, but we must take that risk because a little is as much as our biggest heads can hold. Do not waste your time on social questions. What is the matter with the poor is poverty. What is the matter with the rich is uselessness. A fashion is nothing but an induced epidemic. My reputation grows with every failure. Home life is no more natural to us than a cage is natural to a cockatoo. In socialism, private property is anathema and equal distribution of income the first consideration. In capitalism, private property is cardinal, and distribution left to ensue from the play of free contract and selfish interest on that basis, no matter what anomalies it may present. George Bernard Shaw. Baseball has the great advantage over cricket of being sooner ended. George Bernard Shaw.